When you have that undergraduate research mentor, the relationship is just taken to another level. You're almost being put on the same level as your professor in a way. When you have that professor teaching you, the flow of information is very one way. They're passing on their knowledge to you, and that's great. That's the first step. But when you have that mentor, the ideas are really flowing back and forth. And I feel that when I ask a mentor a question, they're less likely to give me an answer, and they're more likely to tell me that I'm capable of finding it myself. So it really challenges you. It takes your mind to another level. It takes your learning to another level. And it really makes that the flow of information and the flow of learning both ways. I was, in my research, I was looking at questions that even my mentor didn't know the answer to. Whereas in that teaching relationship, they know most of the answers already. So to be kind of going into that new realm of knowledge with a partner, with somebody there to help you, the learning relationship is just taken to another level.
My relationship with my undergraduate research faculty mentors has been different than my relationship with my classroom faculty. It's different because my mentors have really tried to encourage me to come to decisions or think about things on my own. Like, they're there to guide me and provide me a structure, but they're not there to hold my hand and lead me every single step of the way. And I really appreciate that from a critical thinking standpoint, because I think over my 4 years, even though if you'd asked me freshman year, are you a good critical thinker, I would have said, yeah, I am. I've done all these great things in high school, mock trial, youth in government. I wouldn't even have imagined how much my critical thinking skills have developed over the past 4 years. So they've helped me with critical thinking for sure, more than just a classroom faculty member has helped me with that.
My interactions with my advisor tend to be much more problem solving than my interactions with my other faculty. So, for example, usually if I'm going to a faculty and asking them questions, they know the answers. And it's usually about the lecture, the homework, or a project, etc. But they usually know how to respond and the information that I'm trying to seek out. My interactions with my mentor, he often knows the answer. But when he doesn't, it's much more of a collaborative process of trying to figure it out together. And so in that sense, I think it's different because it's much more collaboration instead of one-ended.
I primarily work with Dr. Hall, but I also work with Dr. Caroline Ketchum very closely, sort of they're my two mentors, and they're basically my parents here, and I know a lot of people say stuff like that, but it's true. I kind of just barge into their office whenever, even if they're meeting with other faculty, and just ask them life questions. Doesn't have to be related to the research. And just because I've been around the world, or around the country with them, going to all these conferences, I just have like a much closer relationship than I have with any other faculty member, just from having that like close-knit relationship. And we can talk about all things. They know my goals just from in general and in the project, so they know kind of where my path is heading, where things that would be good for me, and so they're completely honest and tell me what they think. And basically just my parents here.
I think that my relationship with my mentor is really different and really unique from my relationship with any other professor on this campus. He's almost has like a dad-like role to me sometimes, like, you can do it, encouragement, but like also get this done. He's just really great. I've gotten to know him. We meet at least twice a week for 3+ hours, going over data and picking apart my research and where I'm going next and all that stuff. And he was so proud of me when I got into these conferences and, asked me how I did and supported me through my thesis defense. So really, my relationship with him is so unique, and one of probably the most rewarding things about my academic experience at Elon in general is being able to have him to talk to. And I think that we'll maintain, contact after I graduate, whereas I might not necessarily have that kind of relationship with just a professor that I have for a semester. I don't think students necessarily take advantage of how open professors are to getting coffee and talking outside of class. But this really fosters that kind of relationship because you're working outside of the classroom setting all the time.
So probably the biggest way in which my relationship with my faculty mentor is different from our relationships just with other faculty is that I talk to my mentor all the time, and I have frequently throughout my 4 years, because she and I sort of recognized that we'd form a mentor-mentee relationship fairly early on. So she knows not only where I am now, but where I've come from and where I'm interested in going. So anytime we sit down for a conversation, it's not just the content of this conversation or this class, it's sort of a much longer dialogue that has implications moving forward that we're both aware of as we're talking.
I constantly ask him questions, and we're talking about the research, and I know that no matter what, I can ask him even silly questions. So compared to regular professors where I go in for questions and it's like I make sure I know exactly what I'm asking them, I feel like with my mentor I can ask anything and nothing is silly, and I just interact with them a lot more.
It's very personalized, and it's something where I feel comfortable telling her, I have this exciting thing that just happened to me, and she's very approachable about that, which actually I couldn't say in the very beginning of my relationship, I guess, with my mentor. I was in her class and I was very intimidated, and she was very big and exciting and doing great things, and being able to see her in that different light, it really makes me realize that if I had made the effort with other faculty members, I probably could have had a similar relationship in classroom settings, but the research really takes it that step farther because you have so much more time one-on-one.